live on Facebook, and then most of us are live. Is Parth skipping today?
Which verse you want?
I hope he's just getting ready.
Verse number 44?
44.
Verse
Yes.
44. It depends on the book.
Okay. So we can all start like this. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Jai. All right. And then why don't we do these? Why don't we do these prayers glorifying the Bhagavatam itself? Rayanam namaskritya ramchayanaratam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jaya udire. What's it mean? Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is very means of conquest, one should offer their respectful obeisances unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supreme human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Also, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya means
Supreme Personality of Godhead.
offer my respectful obeisances on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Very good. Next verse. Shrinvatam Svagada Krishna Apunya Shravana Kirtana Yantasloya Bhadrani Nick Michael, do it.
Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the paramount love within everyone's heart and the benefactor of the truth of devotee, cleanses the desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted.
Very good. Michael has responded to the call. Nashta Prayeshva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavata Yutamashwake Bhakti Bhavati Naishtuti.
By regular attendance on classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed. In loving service under the personality of God, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact.
Jai.
Can never be taken away.
Jai. So, all your troubles are going to go out the window if you keep doing this. And yeah, but you have to already have the urge to hear Krishna's message. And then all the material desires, because we have so many material desires. I want this thing. It's just all based on bodily illusion, unfortunately. But that will all slowly dissipate. And that's the thing causing your troubles in the first place. And what do you get instead? Love of God, which can't be taken away from you, actually. Once you get it, everything else seems so pathetic in comparison. Even when you get a little bit of it, a lot of you guys are seeing, you're making spiritual advancement and you're getting a taste for devotional activities. Parth, you're going to sit in? Oh my goodness. All right. What can be done? See you later, Parth. Hare Krishna. So this is what we're trying to do, is get a little bit of devotional advancement and merit, and then nobody can take it from you. Once it's gained, it cannot be taken. So, just try your best. So the proper way to do this is very attentively hear. Also even see the speaker as well. A lot of times we want to meditate in the middle of class, and that is definitely against the etiquettes of proper hearing. I know, but you're just this is use all the senses, engage them in the hearing process. Actually, it's a whole. It's not just an ears thing. It's actually everything. Take in everything. There might be expressions on the face. There may be so many things that could happen. So you're not the only person. I used to have, I hope he's not watching, I used to have Steve, like every time, like never see him, I don't want to talk like that. But anyway, It was always time to meditate. The main time to meditate was when somebody was speaking. And it's just like, not just me, anybody was speaking, now it's time for his deep meditations. And I'm just like, oh my God. But it was hard because he was like older than me. So that's why I made a rule for the ashram. No one's allowed to live here unless they're younger than me. Or unless I don't live here and they can be the leader. But I'm not going to live with anybody older than me who, because then they're gonna want to take charge, and then it's just gonna be a power struggle, and I hate it. Yeah.
Happened multiple times.
It's happened like every time, like it's like one of the worst. Yeah, it's been a horrible experience. So I made the rule. Nope. And if you think you've been practicing devotional service for many years, great. Go do it some other temple. That'll be great for you. You go lead something. You'll be wonderful. Every time we invite some experienced devotee here, something happens. Too many chefs in the kitchen. You just say you can't have too many chefs in the kitchen. So anyway, I'm sharing some of my personal struggles I've dealt with. So, but anyhow, yeah. Yes, it's very nice.
Well, if we didn't have a good chopper and dishwasher, then
No, every part is necessary, but there also has to be a leader. And so, if somebody wants to go lead anything else, no problem. But if I'm called to lead this, then I now know what I need. It's only younger people. I can't lead anyone older. That's in the ashram. Holly, you're here, you're hanging out, you're eating, you're listening, so that's good. But in the ashram, it's got to be younger people. Me and my wife we've come to this conclusion. Yeah. No, it's yeah. It's been we've learned this by experience, practical experience, multiple times over.
I'm just surprised out of these other people.
Yeah, it's hard. Well, the thing is, everybody, thinks they have a certain. We all have certain experiences that lead us to, have, experience in certain areas, and we all want to lead something. We all do, and so naturally, if you have the tendency to want to lead something, but you come to fill in a position of... That's actually why I did this in the first place. Because other places I was at, I had natural inclinations to lead, but I didn't fit into the model that the leader was trying to promote. So it just was natural. There's no hard feelings. I just had to go. It's like, all right, well, I could try to use my skill set here, but based on my skill set, and based on your vision for this place, it's just not going to line up. So it's perfect. I just went somewhere else. And then I was able to lead according to my experience and vision. And that's just the same thing with everybody. Everybody has their own. And we'll be able to lead accordingly. So anyway, that's... sorry to throw a little, not dirty laundry, but a little bit of personal, half-used laundry out on the air. But that's the rule here. Anyway, no problem. We are going to read Bhagavatam now, text 44. Nope. Sarahasyo dhanurvedaha Savisargo pasamyamaha Astragramascha bhavata Shikshito yada nugraha Sarahasya confidential Dhanuveda knowledge in the art of manipulating bows and arrows. Savisarga releasing. Upasamyamaha controlling. I think we read this one, didn't we? It was by Dronacharya's mercy that you learned military art of throwing arrows. Yeah, I think we're on 45. Yeah, we did read. Yes, sorry about that. So, just to kind of get the backstory, Draupadi is now disappointed that Ashvatthama is... Even though he murdered her sons, she's seeing him bound up. She's seeing him treated like an animal, when in the past she saw him as their martial teacher's, her husband's martial teacher's son. Like he was a guru. It's considered like a guru. So she didn't want to see him bound up like that, even though he was a heinous murderer of her own children. Because she was such a high caliber woman, she couldn't see him like that. So that's where we're at. Even though Krishna and Arjuna wanted to kill him and made sure he was bound like that because he was so egregious in his murder, but still, we talked about this yesterday, Holly. You missed it. Maybe it was good, but some of the natures. Well, the subject matter. The nature was that some of the differences between men and women in psychology and things like this. Who's that part?
There's more sermon besides the hour and 20 minutes?
Oh no, that's I'm talking 2 days ago. That's when we last read this.
Okay.
Yeah. So, but anyway, so it's talking about some of the differences between men and women, and Draupadi, she's the best among women, and Arjuna and Krishna, and Arjuna's the best among men, but they're going to see this differently because men are acting from the platform of logic and rationality. Usually, if hold on, if a man is fully embodying masculine traits, Piyush commented, we live in a world now where oftentimes females are taking more of the masculine traits and males are taking more of the feminine traits. But the actual traits of masculinity and femininity, masculinity is usually more on the strength of cold, hard rationality and logic, and femininity is more on the strength of emotional sentimentality. The ability to nurture, the ability to have compassion and love. Where men is just like reason and logic and this thing and that thing and the other. That's a whole study. It's a yogic study. You can look it up. The Ida and the Pingala. These are. Don't worry about it. If you don't agree, you don't have to worry. It's. But anyway, so Draupadi, being the best among women, she's exhibiting. Michael, you stop laughing. She's exhibiting. Holly, you keep laughing. That's good. She's exhibiting these qualities of really deep compassion, even when logic and reason might tell you that you should not have compassion for this person. And so here we go. Now we're going to see what happens here. Now we'll read this verse now. Text 45. Sa esha Bhagavan Dronaha Prajarupena Vartate Tasyat Manordham Patnyaste Nan Bhagavad Sukripi Saha Hi Esha Certainly Bhagavan Lord Dronaha Dronacharya Prajarupena in the form of his son Ashvatthama Vartate is existing Tasya his Atmanaha of the body Ardham half Patni wife Aste living Na not Anvagat undertook Virasu having the son present Kripi the sister of Kripacharya. Translation. He, Dronacharya, is certainly still existing, being represented by his son. This is Draupadi speaking. His wife Kripi did not undergo a sati with him because she had a son. A sati is, if you know the past, it will be mentioned later in the Bhagavatam. Sati was the wife of Lord Shiva, and she actually self-immolated herself. Like she used intense meditation techniques to light herself on fire and kill herself because she didn't want to be associated with her father Daksha anymore, because Daksha had disrespected a great personality in Lord Shiva, who was her husband. So she decided that she didn't want any bodily connection with Daksha whatsoever, so she actually lit herself on fire. And actually it is tradition, ancient Indian tradition, that the wife and the husband are so interconnected, and the wife especially is so dependent on the husband, that when he dies, she has no interest in living in this world anymore, and she goes after him. And a sati is they would light his body in a funeral pyre, and she would jump on the fire and embrace his body. Very, very, this is I know it can't be imagined. Even my wife, who's been practicing, she's like, yeah, I'll never do that for you, probably. It would just be very difficult. Who knows? Maybe she has to change her heart at the last second. But,
It's a little like a burn unit story.
It's a little what?
What?
I worked the burn unit for 4.5 years, and the husband set himself on fire at the family picnic and went after his wife. And she just stayed at his bedside.
Really? Well, anyhow.
I didn't think that was really love.
Yeah. You know what? It's
more.
yeah, it's just it's a traditional thing, cultural thing, and yeah, a lot of
It was disrespect also, right? His father disrespected, and how can he disrespect you? So that's why she.
Well, no, that's why she did that. But the tradition now, it's seen. The sati tradition was carried on for many years, and even up to 100 years ago in India, it was still being carried on before.
Yeah,
Some
but it was made corrupt because the women were forced to.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's
that was the perverted aspect of it. That it was actually an honorable tradition,
Yeah.
but at one point, maybe depends on your opinion. But-
There's no love.
Yes, but now when you then take it, well, you must follow this tradition because this is what our answer is. But the person doesn't want doing it against their will. It was always a willing thing. So what was happening is in the less, you could say, intelligent aspects of India's progression through Kali Yuga, they were throwing women on fires because that's what their ancestors did, but the women didn't want to do that, So it was, yeah, it's not good, not recommended. But anyway, just so you know, this is a 5,500-year-old scripture. We gotta get some context here. So anyway, she's saying that Kripi did not undergo a sati. She didn't put herself on the fire. Why? Because she had a son. Yeah, maybe so as well. But if it was said if the woman had descendants, like a son to care for and the family to care for, she wouldn't go. And she would stay to take care of the son and his family. So that was the tradition. So anyway, she was having compassion, Draupadi, for Kripi, Drona's wife, which is very nice. This is Ashvatthama's wife, I should say. Drona's wife. Okay, now we got it. So now what we're going to do, and we got this controversial topics. We're in a controversial place. We'll just take it one step at a time. Now we're going to, I need to do this. I need to evoke the wisdom of the spiritual masters to be able to handle such a topic. So
This
here,
one, or is there different?
no, it's just they're going to be all about this one. It's going to be male and female dynamics. So, but especially it's a little easier when all men are in the room. It's like we all get on the same page. But now we got to actually do the male female dynamics here. So I think my wife's trying to head up here too. So it's going to be an interesting thing. So let us all pray. Om Dhyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Svavadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavanscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunath Vanditam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Harijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakanditam Hey Krishna Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radhakanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhani Sute Devi Pranamami Hripriye Panchakalpa Tarubhascha Kripa Sindhu Vivaja Patitanam Pavanir Vaishnavir Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasari Gaur Bhaktivinoda Jai Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Vishnu Deve Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devi Gaurani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Vishatarine Jai. So, this came to me while I was praying. First of all, one, we should not judge India harshly for these type of things. Because if you look even in this country, only just maybe 50, 60 years ago, they were just getting over separating people for using the bathroom and water fountains and this thing and that thing based on race. You know, even 100 years earlier than that, they were literally did the largest genocide known to people in history by killing the Trail of Tears, taking the Native Americans who filled this country and driving them west and pretty much murdering, I think,
Give it measles.
yeah, and giving them all kinds of diseases, deaths, millions upon millions. They made Hitler look like a mere child in his 12 million genocide.
Yeah, that's true.
So that happened in this country. So we can, a lot of times Americans, we like to put ourselves on the pedestal. Oh yeah, we know justice. We've got democracy. We've got this and that. 100 years ago, we did the biggest genocide known to mankind in modern history, at least in modernity.
I think that it'd be likely I'd have been burned with the witches at Salem.
Yeah, oh yeah, you totally. And then before that, you would have been the Puritans would have took you right out, Holly, and me too. I'd be right out with you, and Michael. You know, we'd be burned at the stake for being witches and warlocks. So what could be done? You know, this is the nature of Kali Yuga. The people are very foolish and arrogant. And so similarly in India that also happens, and that's why the forcing of women on fires and things like this happen. Another
That shows degradation of society in general. That's why the new religion failed mostly, for most part.
what's that?
That's what the degradation of society is. That's what Kali Yuga is. The noble traditions were demonized by the people who practice them, and
Yeah, they're
that shows the
perverted.
consciousness of people have fallen.
Yes. So like the caste system. The caste system is actually good. It's describing people's nature. But now in the West and all over the world it's been demonized. Why? Because they took a good thing and then they started to abuse and pervert it. And now it's a perverted system that doesn't work for the world at large. But actually, if you look at the caste system, it's just describing what your nature is. Some people are blue-collar workers. We do this. We have a caste system. We call them blue-collar, white-collar, and all these things.
But we can move amongst our caste system.
Yeah.
I don't know if
Well, no, traditionally you could.
Oh.
That's the original caste system. That's Varnashram Dharma, you know. But Prabhupada actually established this. He took me born in a Mlecha family and he gave me facility, and everyone has facility. You all have facility to become Brahmin in this Varnashram Dharma practiced by what Prabhupada has established and practiced traditionally. This is a traditional thing. But, you know, they made it by birth. So anyway, when talking of things on the bodily platform like man and woman, you got to remember we're souls. Like Prabhupada always did this. One time, I think it was a Bhakti Tirtha Swami, and he was black-bodied. And he was talking about people giving him a hard time because he was black. And it does say certain things in the scriptures that, actually mention that those with darker skin tend to be more of the blue-collar class. Which actually might make sense if the way you get dark skin is you're out in the sun, and if you have to do all the blue collar of doing all the work in the sun, and ancestrally, if that group is doing things in the sun, they will have darker skin. It might actually make sense, But anyhow, and this was used a lot in India, because like you see Tanmay is darker than Piyush, So it's likely that Tanmay's ancestors did more outside work than Piyush's ancestors.
He's from Kshatriya, I think, if I'm not
Yeah.
wrong. Like,
What's that?
Rathors are mostly Kshatriyas, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
From Rajasthan, right?
So maybe so. But the Brahmanas were doing the least outside work. They were inside doing, and that's why they had more of the light skin and things like this. But it actually makes sense. But, the less intelligent Kali Yuga population, then we would take that and we would pervert it and we would abuse it. And, then racism and all these things happen, So anyway, also with men and women, that's going to happen too. But what Prabhupada did, he was very, I love hearing how he would respond to these things, because sometimes some of his immature disciples would give racist remarks, or they'd say things, and ultimately it says actually one who sees a devotee based on his caste, their gender, creed, all these things on the bodily platform, they're destined for hell. There's all kinds of scriptural evidence for this. So that's one thing. But Prabhupada, also would say to the devotee who is having a hard time tolerating, and he's saying, it's like, if you're responding, people are always going to say something. But if you're responding in anger, that means you're too much on the bodily platform. And it's true, Like if people, a lot of times I see this, I'll go to the Indian store, and I want to share wisdom of Bhagavad Gita with the local Indian population, or anyone going to the Indian store for that matter. But they assume because I'm white, I don't know anything about this stuff, and that they know everything about all this stuff. And so, it's actually racism. It is actually racism, but it's fine. I don't have to, report anybody or anything. It just is what it is. But if I'm on the bodily platform, I can get very angry, like how dare they, But if I'm, taking a step out, that we're all spirit souls here, and actually that they're just conditioned spirit souls who can't see above the bodily platform, unfortunately, you can show compassion for that type. So a lot of times, even look in this country, one side of the even though I think they're both racist, but one side of the political spectrum is perceived as very racist, and actually probably for good reason, because some of the lower intelligent groups in that political spectrum are quite racist. I grew up around them, I grew up in a little white town, and especially some of the surrounding towns were like trailer trash towns. And basically, the N-word was a common word. It was a common word, in the surrounding towns that I grew up in. This is the nature. But if you're on the bodily platform, you'll then respond to them being a racist with you being like, I hate that person. I hate because they're on the bodily platform, but because we're also on the bodily platform, we respond that way. And so Prabhupada was saying, he's like, if you can get off the bodily platform and see everyone as spirit souls, and you could see them for where they're at in a cloud of ignorance, then you can actually show compassion even to the racists, even to the people the criminals, the worst of mankind. You could say, wow, they might need the most help. Actually, indeed they do. So this is actually some of the vision of our acharyas. This is the vision. To be able to have compassion. Narad Muni, he's known he would go travel all over the universe, and he would turn, for instance, hunters. Hunters were seen as some of the most ignorant of, sorry for my hunter friends, but the most ignorant of people. Why? Because they were murderers. They murder animals, and they was kind of seen as a very low profession. And prostitutes and things like this. So they were always seen as lower. But Narada, multiple times has turned these seemingly lower people who do the lowest, more abominable things in society into these great sages and saints. Haridas Thakur did something similar with a prostitute. You know, she was trying to, and she was sent to set him up. The governor wanted to kick Haridas Thakur and embarrass him, so he sent the best prostitute in the area to come get him. And he said, "Oh, my dear lady, just wait right here. Let me chant. Let me finish my chanting, and then I will satisfy all your desires." So she's very happy. She's like, "Oh, I'm gonna get him. I'm gonna get paid. I'm gonna get the whole thing." What ends up happening with Haridas Thakur, he never finishes his chanting. So he just kept chanting, and he did this to her for 3 days straight. But by seeing the saint chant 3 days in a row, she actually got transformed. And she wanted to give up her profession, wanted to give up everything. And Haridas Thakur became her guru, and she became an enlightened guru. This is the nature. This is how saints and sages, he could have been angry. He knew what she was doing. He could have been angry with her. "Oh, you're trying to set me up," or "Oh, you're a prostitute and you're working for this governor," you know. It didn't matter to him. So the devotee doesn't get on the bodily platform. The devotees, you know, the advanced devotee, you know, we're trying to get off this bodily platform, seeing people based off their race, identifying with race, identifying with gender, identifying with ethnicity and lineage and things like this. This is not who we are. We're all spirit souls. You're Indian in this birth. I'm white-bodied American in this birth, and you're women, white-bodied women in this birth. But in your past birth, you could have been Egyptian, you could have been from a different planet, you could have been a demigod, you could have been this, that, and the other. I could have been a pig. We don't know. We just don't know. We're not this. This is a temporary arrangement. Just like, you know, you smash your car up and your friend lets you borrow some, I don't know, beat up old 1989 car, and everyone's judging you. "Oh, you're the guy with the stupid car, blah, 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 blah. I just have this car for a few weeks. I got to fix up my car. My other car's in the shop." That's what we're all doing. We just got a certain body in a certain situation now. In a few years, we're going to get a new body, a different situation. This isn't who we are. We're just riding this car right now. So this is actually how the devotee sees. The devotee has a different vision. They're not looking from the perspective of temporary bodily identification. So when we approach these subject matters, we should also similarly not try and take this, look at it from a standing back, have a broader vision, and be like, okay, let's. We don't have to be so bodily centric. So anyway, let's try it. The wife of Dronacharya, Kripi, is the sister of Kripacharya. This is the purport of text 45. A devoted wife who is, according to revealed scripture, the better half of her husband, is justified in embracing voluntary death along with her husband if she is without issue. That's the main thing. But in the case of the wife of Dronacharya, she did not undergo such a trial because she had her son, the representative of her husband. A widow is a widow only in name if there is a son of her husband existing. So in either case, Ashvatthama was the representative of Dronacharya, and therefore killing Ashvatthama would be like killing Dronacharya. That was the argument of Draupadi against the killing of Ashvatthama, saying this is the representation of the father. So now if we kill him, we kill Drona over again. And Kripi, she didn't join her husband on the fire, and now we'll kill her twice basically, by first taking her husband and now we're going to take her son. This was Draupadi's argument. So she's very compassionate, Draupadi. Very compassionate. Even when all logic and reason says that are you kidding me? He murdered your children. All logic and reason might tell you that. But this is her saintly nature. This is actually what femininity reaches at a very exalted stage. A very...
I've heard somewhere that the guy said the femininity is the most highest state. She becomes mother of all.
Yeah, very compassionate.
That feeling of motherhood comes even for his husband. That feeling converts to that.
Yeah.
She becomes
He
she develops a feeling of being mother to everyone. That compassion of being a mother for the whole humanity.
Yes. Yeah, so her argument is, why make Kripi suffer like me? I'm suffering the loss of my sons. Why should now Kripi, Drona's wife, have to suffer the loss of her son, even if he is a murderer? You know. So this is her. This is a very high level of compassion here she's having. So now, what to do? Krishna said, kill him. Arjuna wants to kill him. He murdered his sons. Bhima, everyone's going to say, you got to kill them. But then all of a sudden you're going to see, now there's like a polar, how do you act in polar opposites? You know, when one side wants one thing and one side wants another thing, how do you find that balance? And Arjuna's going to do it. And this is what ultimately pleases Krishna. Even though Krishna appeared to take a side. So we'll watch. Tadharmagya Mahabhaga Bhavadbir Gauravam Kulam Vrijinam Narhati Praptum Pujyam Vandyam Abhikshnashaha Tat. Therefore, Dharmagya, one who is aware of the principles of religion. Mahabhaga, the most fortunate. Bhavadbi, by your good self. Gauravam, glorified. Kulam, the family. Vrijinam, that which is painful. Not. Arhati, does deserve. Praptum, for obtaining. Pujyam, the worshipable. Vandyam, respectable. Abhikshnashaha, constantly. O most fortunate one, who knows the principles of religion, it is not good for you to cause grief to glorious family members who are always respectable and worshipful. Purport: a slight insult for a respectable family is sufficient to invoke grief. Therefore, a cultured man should always be careful in dealing with worshipful family members. So, you know, there's natural things. Like, for me, I was in so much anxiety yesterday because my parents were here. Why? Because, you know, one, my parents live a totally different life than what we're doing here. Two, and so they're doing all kinds of things that are, you know, different than what we do. So it's like kind of hard to acclimate them. But then at the same time, they are my worshipful family members. They're my parents. You know, I shouldn't disrespect them and all these things. So I had to balance. How am I, you know, even though like I could be in the middle of the class and then all of a sudden my dad wants to take over the class and he's just like, he's ready to preach to everyone Christianity. I'm like, they're not here to, you know, that's not what they're here for. You know, but it was a tricky balance. How do I respond to his his nature in such a way that I don't disrespect him? Because why? It's when you disrespect worshipful people in your life, especially you know, high level spiritual people. This is the most thing. In the beginning of my devotional service, I didn't know etiquette. I didn't know proper. There's something called Vaishnava Sadachar. Everyone should know this. There's an etiquette on how to deal with devotees, actually. And if you make offense to devotees, it's like the worst thing. I ask my wife. There's like a few things that I did in the beginning of my devotional service. You know, when I was very green, like Michael, you know, I was very fired up, and I was like, you know, oh, I'm a devotee now, and this and that. And, you know, but the way I dealt with devotees in such a foolish way and transgress etiquette I didn't know, I like look back to this day and I'm like, you know, just like I cringe even to this day. I'll tell you one, maybe it'll help me overcome it. One time I was at the Bhakti Center and Gauravani was singing. Gauravani is like a pretty famous kirtan leader. And I didn't realize the kirtan etiquette, but you know how I look to you guys and then you sing and I tell you to sing? So I see him doing that and everyone's singing. I was like, I want to sing. So just one time he threw it to someone else, but I took it and I sang over the person and they all looked at me like quite confused and I didn't know why, and I sang with my heart. And I was like, wow. And I felt good about it at the time because like, yeah, I just sang from my heart. But then I like look back years later and I'm like, oh my God, I'm such an idiot. In front of hundreds of people, I'm doing this really stupid thing against etiquette. And I still like grieve over it because I'm like, oh, like I think back because you know, like that's kind of part of my devotional reputation to some degree. That like anyone who saw that saw like me doing something so stupid like that. So anyway, there's a lot of things we do in the beginning of our devotional life that this is cause for grief. There's so many things that we're doing against Vaishnava Sadachar. And then when we actually make advancement in devotional life, like for instance, Tonmai, the reason I was talking when you were like meditating in class, if you did that to a Swami, like a very exalted personality, it's actually a great disrespect. And like, me, I'm like, I know you, it's like fine. Yeah, no, but just that is there's an etiquette to hearing. There's an etiquette to joining a spiritual assembly. So when I was kind of trying to teach you some of the etiquettes, because in the future, let's say, I don't know, Ramapad Swami or some very exalted saintly personality comes, and then they see this, and then I get chastised, like, oh, you're teaching the boys to do like this, and I'm like, no, so it's so we have to, and this is sufficient to invoke grief. When you insult a saintly person, that's why. What is the thing that in Vedic culture they fear the most?
Disrespect, hurt,
Who?
spiritual guru.
Yes, like a guru or a Brahmin, right?
Yeah.
I don't want a Brahmin's curse. They're all falling at the feet. Great warriors, they'll fall down on both sides, whether they're demonic or not. I don't want a Brahmin's curse. I want to only be pleasing to the Brahmanas, right? This is why, because if you disrespect a top level personality, one, you're cursed. If they see you at all with any lack of favor, you're done. That's the nature of actually devotees. So actually, we should always try and be as pleasing as possible to the devotees, especially the devotees who are more advanced than we are. Always try and be pleasing to them. Why? Because if they look at us, because Krishna has such a deep relationship with the devotee, if the devotee, like for instance, I was very materially attached in the beginning of my devotional life. And so I would disappoint my superior devotees with my material attachments. They would want me to be more spiritually attached. And I would be like, well, no. And I saw every time that I disappointed devotees, Krishna had to come in my life and correct that thing that they were disappointed about me in. And I say, oh, okay, so you're going to also want to do this. So we always want to act in such a way that devotees are pleased. So this is actually what Draupadi wants. Because these glorious family members, they're actually all quite devotional, and they're all Brahminical, and they're all, they're actually, it's the family of her guru. You have to remember that. Drona was Arjuna's guru. And yes, the son, he murdered her children. Oh my God. But she has such good qualities, she's able to look past that and see some of these finer etiquettes. So this is, yes.
Well, and Krippy was her guru, not that.
Yes.
Like her mother,
Yes.
Speaking of Krippacharya?
Well, Krippy's the sister of Kripa.
Dronacharya's wife
Yeah.
as her mother.
Yes.
When you take a spiritual master, because Dronacharya by fault was her spiritual master because it was her husband's spiritual master.
Yes.
And that was like her father and mother,
Yes.
Spiritual father and mother.
And she didn't want to hurt the father and the mother. So it's very, very complex. What do you do in such a thing? So we can do one more verse because it's short. Marodidasya janani
Marodidasya jananani
Gautamipati devata
Gautamipati devata
Yathaham ritavatsarta
Amritavatsarta
Rodim yashru mukhi muhu
Dimyashumukhi muhu
Ma do not Rodi
Rodi
make cry
Cry
Asya
Asya
his
His
Janani
Janani
mother
Mother
Gautami
Gautami
the wife of Drona
Wife of Drona
Pati devata
Pati Devata
chaste Yatha,
Yatha,
as has,
as has,
Aham,
Aham,
myself,
myself,
Mritavatsa,
Pratavatsa,
one whose child is dead,
one whose child is
Arta,
Artha,
distressed,
distressed,
Rodami,
Rodami,
crying,
crying,
Ashrumukhi,
Ashtamukhi,
tears in the eyes,
tears in the eyes,
Muhu,
Muhu,
constantly.
constantly.
Translation: My Lord, do not make the wife of Dronacharya cry like me. I am aggrieved for the death of my sons. She need not cry constantly like me. Purport: Sympathetic, good lady as she was, Srimati Draupadi did not want to put the wife of Dronacharya in the same position of childlessness, both from the point of motherly feelings and from the respectable position held by the wife of Dronacharya. So we're gonna find out what they do next time. But it's very complex, you know. A lot of times we look at everything as black and white. This is right, this is wrong, and that's it. But there's always subtleties to things, you know. Arjuna was told by Krishna, kill him. He's a murderer. He's done a horrible thing. But now when Draupadi, and he was going to do it to please Draupadi, but now when Draupadi sees him, she's giving a whole different perspective. So now what does he do? We're going to see this, and we're going to have to do this in our bhakti. The scriptures might say one thing. Do this like this, follow this thing, that thing, and then all of a sudden the situation around you, if you follow the scriptures completely to a T, you're going to cause chaos in the situation around you. So how do you balance? This is the art of bhakti, finding that middle ground. It's very subtle and very fine art. So anyway, we'll learn this art. Again, please tolerate me. I know we talked about a lot of more confidential, I talked about some confidential things too, ashram drama, but you know, more controversial, that's the word I was looking for, controversial types of things. But yeah, when we discuss these things, and it's not going to be the only thing that comes up in the Bhagavatam, when we discuss these things, we have to not look at them from the bodily platform, or you know, it'll just we'll only be able to respond in ignorance, which is what the bodily platform is. We're not this body, we're a spirit soul. You know, any disparaging of race or gender or things like this is all only solely due to bodily platform ignorance. So we actually want to free ourselves from that, and even be able to look at those who are caught up in that with compassion. So that's we'll end here. Hare Krishna.